He stood on a rooftop, watched for 20 minutes, then fired one shot that shattered a nation. Charlie Kirk is dead, and the hunt for his killer has become America's most chilling manhunt. This is how it all unfolded. Tonight, the nation holds its breath as federal investigators intensify the manhunt for the individual responsible for the assassination of conservative firebrand Charlie Kirk. The shooting, which took place in broad daylight at Utah Valley University, has triggered a wave of political outrage, national mourning, and chilling questions about the state of American democracy. Thousands were gathered for what was supposed to be a spirited queue and a session one that ended in horror. Just moments after Kirk responded to a question on mass shootings, a single, surgically aimed bullet tore through the air from over 100 yards away. The suspect, described as a college-aged male, dressed in all black, wearing a dark baseball cap and sunglasses, was seen moving with purpose across a campus rooftop. Within seconds of the shot, that figure vanished, jumping from the roof and disappearing into a nearby neighborhood. Authorities say a high-powered bolt-action rifle was found later in a wooded area, wrapped in a towel, along with 3 unspent cartridges inscribed with cryptic symbols. Tonight, that rooftop is a crime scene. The classroom below, an abandoned relic of a shattered moment, and the suspect still out there, somewhere, silent, hunted. The FBI has now released enhanced images of a person of interest and is asking the public, do you recognize this man? As law enforcement races against time, a clearer picture of the assassin's movements is beginning to emerge. Surveillance footage from multiple angles shows the suspect entering a campus building at exactly 11:52 a.m., weaving through stairwells before ascending to a rooftop that overlooks the entire event space. Investigators believe the shooter waited there for more than 20 minutes, watching as Charlie Kirk spoke to a crowd of students, parents, and even children, just waiting for the precise moment to pull the trigger. At 12:23 p.m., the fatal shot was fired. Panic erupted instantly. Screams pierced the air. Students ducked for cover, and confusion swept through the auditorium like a wave of fire. But what followed was even more chilling. Security cameras caught a blurry figure, sprinting across the roof, then leaping from the edge, vanishing into the chaos below. Witnesses described him as calm, agile, and frighteningly methodical. Moments later, SWAT teams swarmed the surrounding neighborhoods, going door to door, while helicopters swept the woods nearby. That's where they found the rifle carefully hidden and wrapped. Nearby, 3 bullets with unusual engravings lay untouched. Authorities say the markings could indicate ideology or identity. The shooter may have disappeared physically, but he left behind a breadcrumb trail of silent confessions. The echoes of that single shot didn't just stop a man's heart. They ripped through the soul of a nation already on edge. Charlie Kirk, just 31 years old, was not only a polarizing political figure, but also a husband, a father of 2, and the founder of Turning Point USA. In the hours following his assassination, the campus transformed into a haunting memorial. Empty backpacks still sat on chairs, half-written. Notes lay beside toppled laptops. Tables were piled high as makeshift barricades, where terrified students had tried to shield themselves. Among the youngest witnesses were 12-year-old Mia Grant and 11-year-old Elle Steele, who had stood less than 15 feet from Kirk when the bullet struck. Through trembling voices, they described the horror, blood, screams, and prayers whispered under tables. "I just prayed for Charlie to get a miracle," one of them said. That childlike faith now stands in tragic contrast to a growing storm of political fury. President Trump, who had called Kirk a warrior of liberty, announced plans to posthumously award him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Vice President J.D. Vance personally escorted Kirk's widow and children back to Phoenix aboard Air Force Two. This isn't just a crime, it's become a national crucifixion. As the manhunt intensifies, Washington is boiling over. What was once grief has now ignited into political warfare. On Capitol Hill, a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk erupted into shouting as lawmakers clashed over blame. Speaker Mike Johnson pleaded for calm, urging unity, but it was clear the temperature in the room had already risen past the boiling point. Former President Trump blamed radical left lunatics, vowing retribution and calling the killing a dark moment in American history. His supporters echoed the sentiment, while critics accused him of weaponizing tragedy for political gain. Former President Barack Obama, in contrast, issued a more measured tone, condemning the violence and warning against drawing premature conclusions. Across social media, conspiracy theories spread like wildfire, while real threats forced security teams to increase protection for lawmakers of both parties. Investigators confirmed that the cartridges found near the rifle carried inscribed messages possibly ideological or ritualistic. Facial recognition tools are now working through images pulled from the crime scene, and a $100,000 reward has been announced. Meanwhile, Americans are left staring into a void where one man's bullet has cracked open everything from school safety to freedom of speech. The search is no longer just for a killer, it's for answers. Tonight, the trail of America's most wanted fugitive narrows with every frame, every fingerprint, every faint clue left behind. The FBI has confirmed the weapon, a high-powered bolt-action rifle, was custom-fitted for long-distance precision. Forensics teams are rushing its transport to Quantico for deep analysis, scanning for latent prints, DNA, even chemical residue. Digital investigators are working around the clock, cross-referencing the suspect's potential face with university rosters, public camera networks, and online ideology watch lists. But even as science accelerates, emotions boil. Outside the university, candles now light the steps where panic once reigned. A shattered backpack, a spilled water bottle still untouched since the moment fear took over. Inside Congress, leaders plead for peace, but the crowd chants louder for justice. And as America mourns Charlie Kirk, one thing becomes undeniably clear. This moment will be remembered, not just for who pulled the trigger, but for how the country responded. In every corner of this fractured nation, from dorm rooms to Capitol offices, one question lingers. Who is this shadow in black? A cold-blooded killer or the first spark of something more dangerous? One man vanished, but his footprints are everywhere. And tonight, the country is not just watching. It's waiting for justice, for unity, or for chaos.